Nie.
So, okay na? Tapos na? So,
Yes,
yung
ma'am.
ibang,
Ma'am.
habol na lang. Okay lang naman yun. I-click nyo lang yung link. Sa mga hindi pa tapos na attendance. So, before we proceed, mag-share screen na ako, ha? Share screen. Klaro lang yung screen ko?
Opo.
Hindi, ma'am.
Klaro po.
May nakikita kayo?
Wala.
Wala man. Pero yung sa baba, meron.
Opo.
Wait lang, ha? Presenting.
Maliit masyado, ma'am.
Share screen. Eto.
Wala pa man, ma'am.
Wala, ma'am.
Ha?
Wala po.
Wala po.
Wala. Wait lang. Check ko muna.
Wala, ma'am.
Meron na.
Yan, ma'am. Klaro na.
Yan na. Yan, may nakikita na kayo? Presenting na?
Wala man,
Medyo.
ma'am.
Wala, white to lang, ma'am.
Yan, white. Oo,
Naka-white screen
Wala
pa
lang.
lang, ma'am.
white screen. Okay
Opo.
na. Okay. Lang.
Ay.
So, before we proceed, here are some of our classroom rules muna. So, okay. So, no chat while the teacher is talking. Be on time, be respectful, mute yourself. So, paki-mute yung mic nyo if you're have something else to say, that's the time na i-on nyo yung microphone nyo. So, paki-mute ng mga microphone nyo. So turn on your video and be prepared for our discussion, for our lesson proper.
Mami,
So yung mga naka-on na mic, please turn it off.
Opo, ma'am.
Klaro lang ba yung boses ko?
Opo.
Okay na? So, welcome to our virtual class on disaster readiness and risk reduction. Our lesson for today is about hazard and types of hazard. So these are the learning objectives. So at the end of our lesson today, you should be able to identify specific situations that constitute to a hazard or a disaster, to explain how natural phenomena are transformed into hazard and disaster, and lastly, to distinguish the various types of hazards. So let's begin. Why is the Philippines considered as one of the world's most disaster-prone countries? So first, geographically speaking, ang Pilipinas ay matatagpuan sa Typhoon Belt. Ito ay malapit sa Pacific Ocean kung saan ito ay daanan ng mga malalakas na bagyo. Second is, ang Philippine Archipelago ay matatagpuan sa region ng region na tinatawag na Pacific Ring of Fire. So, kung saan ang mga bulkan ay aktibo at may mga paglindol. So, sad to say, according to 2013 World Risk Index, ang Pilipinas ay nasa top 3 ng mga peligrosong bansa. Pero, wag kayong mag-alala kasi the good news is from top 3 yung Pilipinas nung 2013 sa taong kasalukuyan 2020, ang Pilipinas ay nasa top 9. Isa itong manifestasyon na tayo ay unti-unti tayo ay preparado at unti-unti nang natutugunan natin yung mga hazard sa ating paligid. So ito ang pag-aaralan natin ngayon. So if you're familiar with the first picture, anyone from the group, ano ito? Sino pwede sumagot? Hello?
Tsunami, ma'am.
Typhoon po.
May
Ha?
typhoon ba?
Typhoon.
Familiar ba kayo?
Typhoon, ma'am.
Okay, that's very good. Sino yung sumagot?
Lahat kami, ma'am, sumagot.
So, ito ay isang typhoon. So, next, ito ay volcanic eruption. This is a tsunami. Ito ay isang pagbaha or flood.
Blood.
This is an aftermath of an earthquake. And this is an aftermath of a landslide. So, sa palagay nyo, ano yung may pagkakaparean? Ano yung common sa kanila? What is common among them sa mga pictures na to?
Landslide, pati flood po, ma'am.
Ano yung common denominator nilang lahat? Etong
May
mga pictures
nangyayari.
na to, ano sa tingin nyo yung anong meron sa kanila?
Hazard.
Okay?
Disaster.
So, what is common among them is these are all examples of natural events. So, before we start for our lesson, let's have a simple activity first. So, I'm going to read the instructions. So, in this activity, you are given 5 seconds to identify which among the images presented is a hazard or a disaster. So, for example, in item number 1, image A, your answer, is it a hazard or a disaster? So, in image B, you're going to identify if it is a hazard or a disaster. So, let's start. Before we start, yung iba na gusto mag-type sa chat box, mag-chat, and yung iba na gusto namang sumagot, paki-open na lang yung mic. So, your 5 seconds start now. Nakikita ba?
Apo.
Hazard. Disaster.
Okay.
Hazard.
First is yung letter A. Ano sa tingin niyo yung letter A?
Disaster, ma'am.
Yung iba? Yung iba hindi ko naririnig ang boses.
Hazard, ma'am.
Hazard, ma'am.
Okay. Let's find out. Ito ay isang hazard.
Yay.
Yung image B.
Disaster.
Very good.
Baliktad.
ma'am.
Okay, next. Nakikita lang ba?
Apo.
Okay. Okay-off muna yung mic nyo. I-open nyo lang pag
Okay.
sino gusto sumagot. Okay. Okay. Ano sa tingin nyo ang image A?
Yung A, ma'am,
This is a tsunami.
yung tsunami is
Disaster.
Sa image A muna tayo, ha?
Disaster.
Image A?
Disaster.
Hazard, image A.
Disaster ba?
Okay,
Hazard.
tingnan natin.
Hazard.
So ay
Hazard.
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 And yung image B is
Disaster.
ah. Okay, for last item. Okay, saan sa tingin nyo ang hazard? Saan sa tingin nyo ang disaster? Image A,
A.
image B.
Image A.
Hazard. A.
A.
Image A, ano?
Hazard.
Yung A, ma'am.
Hazard.
Tapos yung B, disaster.
A.
Disaster.
Sure na yan, hazard ang image A.
Yes.
Apo.
Disaster yung image A.
Apo.
It's a disaster.
Ngek, ngek.
Yung B is hazard. Okay. So, paano nga ba nagiging hazard ang isang natural event? So, we certainly cannot control natural events such as volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, typhoons, and landslides from happening. However, these natural events do not automatically become hazards. So, nagiging hazard ang isang natural event when it has the potential to harm people or cause property damage, social and economic disruption. So, what is the difference between a hazard and a disaster? So, let's first define what is a hazard. So, when we say hazard, it is a process, phenomenon, or human activity that cause loss of life, injury, or other health impacts, property damage, social and economic disruption, or environmental degradation. While disaster According to RA 10121, definition of disaster, it is a serious disruption in the functioning of a society causing widespread human, material, or environmental losses, which exceeds the ability of the affected society to cope within its own resources. So it means disasters are happenings or events that are beyond the human capability. It cannot be controlled or manipulated. So when we say hazard, it is the agent or the cause. So when we say disaster naman, ito yung impact niya. Ito yung impact ng hazard. Okay? When there's a loss of life, okay, when there is a loss of life and yung effect niya rin sa environment and as a whole sa society. So, kailan nagiging hazard ang isang disaster? A disaster happens when a probable destructive agent, which is the hazard, hits a vulnerable populated area. So, for example, a natural event like volcanic eruption or a tsunami hits an inhabited area, it does not qualify a disaster kasi wala namang doon, wala namang tao. Well, ano ba yan? It's isolated area. So, it becomes only a disaster when it hits, when a hazard hits a vulnerable population and properties. An event per se does not constitute a hazard. It is only when a man and his environment are threatened that these events can be considered hazards. So, for example, an eruption of a volcano in an isolated area, it remains an event. This is actually a naturally occurring event. But when a volcanic activity, let's say yung vulkan pumutok close to the populated area, this mere event becomes a hazard when when it is considered a threat to the people. So, for example, in this picture, this is a natural event. Kasi yung volcanic eruption, natural talaga siya, phenomenon na nangyayari. But it happens na yung volcanic eruption na ito nangyari sa an isolated area. Walang tao, walang nakatira. On the other hand, itong isang picture, this is a volcanic eruption when the volcano erupts close to the populated area, which is a threat to the people. That's when it becomes a hazard. So when does a hazard become a disaster? So when a hazard comes with contact with vulnerable population, that's when a disaster happens. So kung may yung hazard comes with contact sa isang vulnerable population, doon nagkakaroon ng disaster. So according to Dregg's model, hazardous geophysical events such as flood, earthquake, and tsunami comes with contact with a vulnerable population susceptible to human and or economic loss because of where they live. That's when disaster occurs. So according naman sa crunch diagram, when the hazards or the trigger events collide with vulnerability or the exposure, that's when disaster comes. So, disaster is the product of hazard times vulnerability times exposure. So let's have an activity again. Nandyan pa ba kayo?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Sasabayan lang ang screen. Nakikita nyo lang?
Yes, ma'am.
Opo.
Okay. So let's have another activity. Types of hazard. So natural hazards. These are naturally occurring physical phenomena caused either by rapid or slow onset events. So example of natural hazards are geologic hazard, hydrologic hazard, atmospheric hazard, and biologic hazard. Natural hazards can also be divided into two. Rapid onset hazards, which develop with a little warning or it strike rapidly. So example of these are volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, flash floods, landslides, severe thunderstorms, lightning, and wildfires. While slow onset hazards, it takes years to develop. Example of these such as drought, insect infestations, and disease epidemics. Man-made hazard. These are events that are caused by humans and occur in or close to human settlement. So example of these, industrial explosions and fires, accidental release of toxic chemicals, radiological material, biological material, and etc. Nuclear, nuclear accidents, collapse of public buildings, weapons of mass destruction, and computer virus. So let's have another activity. So for this activity, you are given 5 seconds to answer each item. There are images presented and you're going to determine each image which describes the types of hazard. So either it could be geologic hazard, hydrologic hazard, atmospheric hazard, biologic hazard, or man-made hazard. So for our first picture, you are given 5 seconds to answer and your time starts now. Okay, ano sa tingin nyo? What's the answer? Hello?
Logic.
Biologic.
Maya,
Hazard.
yali.
Ano yung
Hydrologic.
answer? Ha?
Hydrologic, ma'am.
hazard.
Okay,
Biologic,
let's
ma'am.
find out. Geologic?
Logic, ma'am.
It's
Biology.
geologic hazard.
Yes.
So
Hazard.
this is an example of geologic hazard. This is volcanic eruptions. Volcanic eruption. So this is an example of geologic hazard. Geologic hazard is an extreme natural event in the crust of the earth that pose a threat to life and property. So example of these are volcanoes can cause dangerous explosions as well as gentle lava flow. So when a volcano erupts, nagkakaroon ng lava flows, volcanic gas, lahars, rock falls or slides, debris flows, and mud flows. So which are potential danger to people. So when there is a volcanic eruption, it produces volcanic gas such as water vapor, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and monoxide, and etc. So some of these gases causes breathing problems, and the sulfur dioxide may actually the sulfur dioxide produced in a volcanic eruption sulfur dioxide, which is a volcanic gas, it actually may cause an acid rain. So next is the next picture. So, ano sa tingin nyo? Anong example ito?
Geologic.
Hydro...
Biologic.
Dam.
Biologic hazard.
Biologic, ma'am.
Geologic.
Ay, hindi.
Okay.
Bio.
Okay, let's see.
Atmosphere.
This
Geologic.
is an example of geologic hazard. So,
Yes.
this is an earthquake. So, it also an example of geologic hazard. Earthquake earthquake occurs when there is a sudden slip on a fault which result to ground shaking. So, nakikita nyo naman na nagbitak-bitak yung mga bitak-bitak yung daanan, or there is a volcanic or magmatic activity or a sudden stress or changes on the earth kung kaya nagkakaroon ng earthquake. So, next, ito.
Hydrologic.
Ay, wala.
Hydrologic.
Wait lang.
Ay,
Okay,
sorry.
time's up. Ano?
Hydrologic.
Hydrologic hazard.
Biologic.
Hydrologic hazard?
Biologic.
Or atmospheric.
Okay, the
Hydrologic.
answer is geologic. So, tsunami is an example of geologic hazard, or it is also known as tidal wave. It is a series of waves in a water body caused by the displacement of a large number of water, generally in ocean or large lakes. So, when there is a earthquake, volcanic eruptions, or other underwater explosions above or below the water, it can have the potential to generate tsunami. So 'di ba, for example, yung nag-earthquake, yung aftermath ng earthquake, meron nagre-report na baka there's a possibility na magkakaroon ng tsunami kasi yung shaking sa baba ng lupa sa doon nangyayari. Kaya nagkakaroon ng tsunami. Okay, next.
Hydrologic.
So, ano sa tingin nyo ang sagot?
Hydrologic.
Biologic.
Hydrologic nga ba?
Yeah.
Biologic.
Geologic hazard.
Okay.
Biologic.
Okay, let's see. Ito ay hydrologic. An example of hydrologic. So, hydrologic hazard is defined as extreme events associated with water occurrence, movement, and distribution. So, it involves water process. So, example of hydrologic hazard is a flash flood. Either flood either flood na nangyayari flash flood na galing sa river or sa mga coastal area. So next is okay, this picture, ano sa tingin niyo ang sagot?
Atmospheric.
Hydrologic po.
Atmospheric. Atmospheric.
Atmospheric hazard.
Atmospheric hazard, ma'am.
The answer is hydrologic. So, di ba, yung hydrologic hazard is an extreme event na may relate extreme event na yung water yung involved sa process. So, drought is an example of hydrologic hazard when there is a lack of rainfall that leads to inadequate water supply for plants, animals, and even for human beings. So, especially to those countries na mainit especially to those countries na mainit, there are times na ilang years pa bago umulan, meron din times na hindi talaga umulan. So example of this is yung Africa. So one of the main problems talaga sa Africa is yung water supply nila. So
Yes, ma'am.
yung Africa rin, yung isa sa mga bansa na nakaka-experience ng drought dahil sa sobrang init talaga doon sa lugar. So, it's either lack of rainfall, bakit nagkakaroon ng drought, or hindi talaga umuulan sa lugar na yun. So, next. Eto.
Atmospheric.
Ano sa tingin niyo?
Atmospheric. Atmospheric hazard.
Sana yung iba, parang konti na lang yung
Biologic.
Atmospheric.
Biologic, ma'am.
Biologic, ma'am. Biologic hazard or
Atmospheric.
atmospheric. Dalawa. Sa
Okay.
dalawa.
Okay, let's see.
Magsuna ako na.
This is an example of atmospheric hazard. Okay, tama yung sino yung sumagot.
Ako, mama.
Ma'am.
So, atmospheric hazard, okay. Atmospheric hazard, these are also natural hazard, but the process involved is mainly in the atmosphere. So, this is a typhoon, which is a tropical cyclone that usually forms in the Western Pacific Ocean. So, the impact of this extends over a wide area with strong winds and heavy rains. However, the greatest damage of a typhoon to life and property, it's not from the wind itself na yung naano ng typhoon, but it also from the secondary events such as storm surges, floods, landslides, and tornadoes. Di ba pag nagkakaroon ng bagyo, like for example, yung sa Yolanda is nakategorize siya as typhoon. Tapos later on, nagkaroon ng yung secondary effect niya, which is yung storm surge na maraming namatay doon sa Leyte. So, yun. Next is so, eto. Ano sa tingin nyo?
Biological hazard.
Man-made.
Made.
Hydrologic.
Man-made, ma'am.
Man-made.
Okay.
Bio.
This is an example of atmospheric.
Joke.
Bakit? So,
Ma'am, di
ito,
ba gagawa
this
niyo
is
ng
an example of atmospheric kasi due to heavy rainfall, may area mostly, yung sa mga urban area, tumataas yung tubig, kaya may mga lugar na binabaha. So ito, di ba pag, for example, malakas yung ulan, may times na merong times na hindi ganun kalakas ang ulan, pero naiipon yung tubig. Kaya nagkakaroon ng baha. Pero hindi pinagkaiba nila sa flash flood kasi yung flash flood is yung wala siyang may warning siya pero yung pag-strike niya is mabilis. Yung eto kasi due to heavy rainfall, yung for example, yung tuloy-tuloy yung pag-ulan, may pagkakataon na tuloy-tuloy yung pag-ulan, kaya bumabaha. Pero hindi siya, not because of the flood na galing sa river or sa coastal area, but because yung naiipon yung tubig dahil sa malakas na ulan. So, yun din yung reason na bumabaha is yung no proper drainage, walang daluyan ng tubig. Diba? So, next is, eto.
Man-made.
So, ano yung answer nyo?
Biologic hazard.
Biologic.
Biologic.
Okay. The answer is biology.
Yeah.
So, So this is an example of biologic hazard. Biologic hazard, these are hazards that cause or are related to disease of plants, animals, and humans. So COVID-19, it causes the global pandemic. Because of COVID-19, nagkaroon ng global pandemic which is now na-experience natin, and because of this, it has a big impact not only to the economic loss worldwide but also most especially sa human health, and one and other aspect like sa education natin ngayon. Because of global pandemic, we are adjusting to the new normal, new situation, and we are adapting the blended learning. So, kaya ngayon, nag-online class tayo, and also yung modular nyo. So, next is, eto. Ano sa tingin nyo?
Geologic, ma'am.
Geology.
Biologic, ma'am.
Geologic.
Okay. This is a biologic.
Joke.
Yeah.
Di ba kasi kanina sabi ko ang biologic hazard, it can cause these are the cause or related diseases sa plants, animals, and humans. So ito ay
Apo.
locus, which is an example of biologic hazard. So it can be a pest, especially on agriculture. So yung locus is ano siya, type of grasshopper. So next.
Ay,
Excited to.
Man-made.
Man-made.
Okay. Eto.
Man-made, ma'am.
Ha?
Man-made, ma'am.
Man-made.
Man-made.
Okay. This is an example of man-made hazard. Okay. So, man-made hazard, this is a type of hazard caused by humans, whether it is intentional or simply by accident or by human-induced activity. So, pero there are fire incidents naman na secondary effect siya ng, for example, may earthquake. Yung aftermath kasi ng earthquake, pagkatapos ng earthquake, 'di ba, merong mga aftershocks which is yung gumuguho yung mga buildings, meron iba nagkokos ng sunog. Pero yung mga incidents ng sunog na, for example, nasunog dahil naiwanan nakasaksak yung mga appliances, nasunog dahil may bombing, or meron din kaya sunog na incident na sinadya. So these are circumstances na matatawag siyang man-made. So next is okay. Ano sa tingin niyo?
Man-made.
Man-made, ma'am. Man-made po.
Okay.
Biologic.
Man-made to?
Biologic, ma'am.
This is an example of a man-made hazard. Ito ay isang oil spill.
Kala ko, ma'am, naghuli ng isda.
Saan dyan? Ay. Saan dyan?
Yan, ma'am.
Ay, isang oil spill. Nakikita niyo yung mga itim-itim. Di ba ganyan yung pag may oil spill?
Yes, ma'am.
Nililinisan niya nila.
Yung barko.
So, yung oil spill is toxic chemicals na hindi ko alam kung accident ba to or anong nangyari, basta man-made yan. So you're going to answer a question. Ito. So to sum it all up, ito yung mga types of hazards. So selected lang yung binigay kong example sa inyo. So, geologic hazard is, example niya is earthquakes, volcanic eruption, rapid sediment movement, subsidence, sinkhole formation, impacts with space object. Sa hydrologic naman is floods, wave action, drought, rapid glacier advance. For atmospheric, typhoons or hurricanes, thunderstorms, excessive rainfall, tornadoes, heavy snowfall, hail, blizzard, glaze storms, freezing rain, high wind speeds, extreme temperatures, and lightning. For the biologic hazard, epidemic in humans, epidemic in plants, epidemic in animals, and locusts. So for man-made, transport accidents, industrial explosion and fires, accidental release of toxic chemicals, nuclear accidents, collapse of buildings, weapons of mass destruction, could be biological, nuclear, incendiary, incendiary, chemical, and explosive. For man-made also is a computer virus such as a Trojan horse program. So for your another activity, you're going to answer this question. Which among the types of hazard can more likely cause a disaster? Choose only one and explain why. So, I will send a link again sa chat box, Google form. Wait. Uh, So, dito nyo sasagutan yung question. Kindly check na lang. So, I will give you 3 minutes to answer. Your timer starts now. 3 minutes.
Ma'am? Excuse po, ma'am. Di ba ako makapasok sa link, ma'am? Kailangan daw ng permission.
Yes, ma'am. Sa akin din. Kailangan ng permission.
You need
Wait
permission.
lang. Oh, wait lang.
Kailangan daw ng pahintulot, ma'am.
Okay. Ito, try nyo.
Same lang, ma'am.
Same lang?
Opo,
Ma'am, di makapasok, ma'am.
Same lang, ma'am. Same. Same lang.
So, sa ano na lang? Sa chat box na lang. Type your answer sa chat box.
Eh,
Heck.
Ma'am, pwede patingin ulit ng question?
Hello? Nandyan pa ba kayo? Hello?
Typing, ma'am. Wait lang.
Okay.
Wait lang po, ma'am.
Wait.
Choose only one lang yan, ha? Baka sa dami ng types of hazard.
Yun na lang ilagay, ma'am, sa group chat, ma'am.
Hindi, dito sa chat box. Saan kaya nag-send?
Wala pa, ma'am.
Dito sa chat box.
Hindi ko man masend. Paano, ma'am?
Click mo yung button na parang ano siya. Parang lang siyang,
Dito.
eto oh. Kikita mo ba?
Yung sa taas, ma'am.
Eto oh.
Wala man, ma'am.
Meron yan. Nakikita mo ba yung screen ko?
Opo.
Eto, dito sa taas. Dito.
Mm, hindi.
Another 1 minute.
Yan na, ma'am.
So may nakita na ako nag-send.
Opo.
Okay. Okay, tapos na ba? Hello? So, dalawa na. So, dalawa na yung sumagot para kay Al-Adam, earthquake, which could cause tsunami. And from kay Antaw, geologic hazard, which is more likely to cause a disaster because of its process. And it can cause loss of lives, not just for humans and also for animals. Okay, and it also can damage properties. So, sino pa? From the group. Para makaproceed na tayo. May, ano pa tayo? Meron pa kayong last activity. So, kung sino yung hindi pa makasagot dito, tawagin ko na lang. Para i-share ang to share your insights. Kung nahiyang sumagot sa chat box. So, let's hear it from Kim Zar. Hello?
Wait lang, ma'am. Wait lang, ma'am. Mag-type lang ako, ma'am. Mag-type lang ako.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or sino sa inyo dito gusto mag-share? Magsalita na lang. So, okay na ba? Pa-type na lang ako sa chat box ng answers nyo. So, let's proceed. Okay. So, there are many different ways of classifying hazards. Natural hazards such as volcanic eruptions and earthquakes result from Earth's natural process. On the other hand, technological hazards such as radiation, leak from a nuclear power plant are the products of human activities. So, human intervention can alter the pace and magnitude of natural hazard occurrence, wherein this results in a type of hazard that is um, a type of hazard that is midway between natural process and natural and man-made hazard. So, example of this is the quasi-natural hazard. This results from the interaction of natural process and human activities. Example of quasi-natural hazard is smog and desertification. So, a clear example of human intervention is the destruction of mangroves and coral reefs weakens the shores defenses against tsunamis and storm surges. Okay. So, we as humans must see ourselves having very important roles in eliminating or reducing the effects of natural phenomena rather than seeing ourselves as the agents of converting natural events into disasters. So for your post-evaluation, here are the questions for your post-evaluation. Okay. So to end our discussion, mag-pause evaluation muna tayo. Okay. So, nakikita nyo pa rin ba yung screen?
Yes
Opo,
po.
ma'am.
Apo.
Ma'am.
Yes, yes, yes.
So,
Apo, ma'am.
Opo, ma'am. Opo.
punta kayo sa browser nyo. Ito. Tapos, browser. So, punta kayo sa browser nyo, i-exit nyo muna. Punta kayo then, punta kayo sa joinmyquiz.com. Type nyo.
Ito, ma'am.
Join quiz.
Ano ulit, ma'am?
Punta kayo sa joinmyquiz.com. Open nyo yun.
Dito na, ma'am.
Okay? Wait lang.
Join code daw. Ano yung code?
Wait lang. Stop sharing.
Kailangan pa ito ng
Nandiyan na kayo? Nakita nyo na? Join my quiz.
Papa.
Opo, ma'am. Kailangan ng code, ma'am.
Ma'am, may code. Ma'am, di kita marinig.
Nakamute ka po, ma'am.
Nakamute ka, ma'am.
Cute.
Okay. So, type the code 031
031
2427.
2427.
Okay.
I-join, ma'am.
Ma'am, kailangan
Oo.
browser lang yan.
Enter your name.
Hindi pwede sa
Okay,
Safari.
gawa.
Check your browser. Okay, nandito na yung iba.
Safari kasi yung ginagamit ko.
Cute man to. Nandito na, ma'am.
Safari.
Okay lang, Safari.
Okay lang?
Try mo. Nandito na si Antaw, si Kimzar, si Drazen, si Nasa, si Alnaiza. Yung iba.
Hello.
Ano yun ulit, ma'am? Join?
Joinmyquiz.com.
Sabi nga nila.
Wait lang po. Join my quiz.
Pwede mo na i-set back, ma'am. Back, ma'am.
Sige, I'll send na lang.
Apa, ma'am.
Sa iba.
Hindi. Hindi kayo napapulido. Tayo na yung kakilangan.
Ano yung ma'am? Ano yung code?
031.
Wait lang po. 031 Ma'am, yung code po.
Nasa chat box. Yan na, 0312427. Okay na?
Wait po.
So, wala na bang sasali?
Okay
Sino
na,
pa?
ma'am.
So, let's start the game. Okay?
Bobo na kita yun.
So, sasagot rin ako. So, kung sino yung highest dito or second sa akin, kayo ang may highest score, okay?
May cash prize, ma'am.
Ha?
Pala.
Surprise daw, ma'am.
Hala ka.
Anong crush na? May plus point, Char.
Content at
May plus points. Yung sa mga nanganganib. Sige na, let's start.
Start na ba, ma'am?
Hmm.
COVID-19 example of hazard. No. None of the above.
Uy, ito chamba.
Not connected. Ma, bakit hindi ako makasagot?
Ba't di pwede, ma'am?
Start over.
Manalawa na kita yan.
Di ba makansel, ma'am?
Hmm?
Di ako makansel. Ay, wala man ano. Ba no? Score?
Meron, yung iba nga nagka-score, oh.
Sa akin, ma'am, wala.
Which of the following man-made disaster? Man-made disaster, pollution.
Okay.
Na. Hazard.
Natural.
Correct.
Which of the most natural hazards? Mob, storm, water population. Uy, ma! Nangyari? Is, law, gaya, which is not a sufficient word hazard. Is,
Not.
Ulo.
No, wait.
Answer na ba lahat?
Wala pa, ma'am.
Go. Si Nasa, tapos na. Si Kimzar.
Wala na.
Tapos na ba? Si
Wala pa
Nasa,
po.
si Imsar, si Drazen, si Alsafauni, si Antaw, si Alnaiza, tapos na.
Wait, ma'am.
Si Alhaider. Habol yung iba, go, go.
Ano?
Layo.
E. One maid.
Wala.
Hehe. Philippines. Natural hazard. Na. Issue. Which is an example of natural hazard.
Ma'am, bakit ka nagbalik sa akin?
Ay, yung iba, umulit.
Hindi ko na ulitin, ma'am. Naklik ko din.
Ay, lakas ng ulan.
Hirap. Ang hirap, ma'am. Putik.
Wala
Ay,
na.
yan. Kung nakinig
Yan,
kayo.
Umulit ako, ma'am.
Pwede pa ba ulitin?
And kahit, ma'am, kahit ulitin namin, nakalimutan pa rin namin yung tawag.
Putik, ang hirap.
Masyado na kayo nag-enjoy sa game.
Opo, na-enjoy pa
Yung
rin,
iba,
ma'am.
sobrang habol.
Isa ko masiro.
Oral circuit niya. Kapag pag ito, balik ko rin magbalik yan.
Sa mga
Yun lang, ma'am.
ulit, sige, last chance ko na. Habol kayo. End na natin. I-end ko na to. Tapusin nyo na lang yung umulit.
Sige na, ma'am.
Malay nyo, second time around.
Yun lang, ma'am. Wala na iba, ma'am. Yaki.
E.
Random.
Hindi ka rin magbalik yun eh. Mga
She.
Si Jundahani, hindi pa tapos. Si Antaw, umulit, hindi tinapos.
Mahirap na.
Ikaw, Diana, konti na lang yan.
Ma'am. Malapit na.
Ah.
Ba't hindi ko matanda?
Stop na.
Diba?
Malapit mo nga ako pa ito.
No.
Malapit na. Ano pang?
Kalima ko din sa din. Kasi kapag na naman yung answer. Okay lang ma'am mag
Done na, ma'am.
Okay na. So, final, ano na to? So, yung second is si Nasa. Congrats! Sumunod si Drazen. Si Kim Zar. So,
number
si Drazen. Sa Fauni, si Antaw, si Alhaider, si Jumdahani. O si Antaw ulit. Si Alnaiza, si Aladam. Meron ka pa na ano, Diana. Di ba pa natapos?
Yes, ma'am.
Ano, go
Di
pa.
pa ba? Wait.
Okay. Okay na. So, that ends our game. Okay na.
Finish na.
Congrats sa mga nag-participate.
Wala.
Oo. Actually, may correction doon sa isang question. Sino nakapansin?
Ma'am, yung sa ano, yung sa COVID-19, di ba hindi
Ako, ma'am,
man-made yun?
Yes! Actually,
Biology.
correction yun. Ngayon,
Opo.
COVID-19 is an example of natural hazard.
Yes.
So, hindi siya So, bonus na yun. So, may mga plus one.
Yay!
May plus one kayo sa points sa
Bonus.
game. Okay? So, that ends our lesson for today. So, hopefully, may natutunan kayo.
Yes, ma'am.
And see you sa school.
Next week,
Thanks for participating.
Bye.
Thank you. Ingat kayo lagi and God bless you all always. Ha?
Opo, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Bye ma'am.
Ma'am. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye po.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow.
So,
Matagal ba tayo mag-school?
before we end, ito muna. So, okay. Mag-share muna ako last. So, klaro lang ba yung screen?
Opo, ma'am.
Opo, ma'am.
Okay. So, ito yung mga learning packets na ito yung mga natutunan natin this day. So, you were able to identify specific situations that constitute to a hazard or a disaster. So, na-explain rin natin yung how natural phenomena are transformed into hazard and disaster, and you were able to distinguish the various types of hazard. So, thank you for listening and God bless you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
So, that ends our lesson.
Ay, ma'am, excuse po pa.
Heck.
Yung mga tambak po, ma'am, tatanggapin pa po ba yun?
Hmm?
Yung mga modules na tambak, tatanggapin pa po ba yun?
Modules daw na tambak
Sabay
na.
mo na lang doon sa pag magkuha ka ng module this, kasi for this quarter, fourth quarter na yung i-release.
Sige po.
Matagal
Kailan po
pa
tayo
kami
malilate,
magsasauli
ma'am?
ng ano,
Wala pa bang
itong module
schedule po, ma'am?
namin.
By next week, pero mag-chat na ako sa GC
Opo.
natin.
Kailan ma'am, magsauli ng module ma'am?
Isa-isa lang. Ha?
Kailan pa magsauli ng module?
Chat lang ako sa GC natin kung ano yung schedule, ha? Mag-update na ako.
Mag-isip lang po, ma'am.
Okay ma'am.
Ma'am,
Lockdown ma'am.
Schedule.
Di makalabas dito.
Okay, sige. Thank you for participating, guys.
Okay
God
ma'am.
bless you all.
Ma'am.
Opo
Bye-bye.
ma'am. Bye-bye. Ingat po ma'am.
Ingat kayo lahat.
Opo.
Ingat.